Ravens flock, what's going on? I hope everybody's having a good week so far. So we are getting ready for the game tomorrow against the Cincinnati Bengals. Real quick before I get into that, I know obviously over the past few days there's been a lot of speculation about Devontae Adams possibly going to the Ravens in a trade. He posted a cryptic message on social media where he put up a picture of Edgar Allan Poe, which of course had the infamous poem The Raven, which is literally what inspired the name for the Baltimore Ravens when they became a new team in the expansion in 1996. But again, I don't think anything is really going to come from that. I would love for that to happen, but we've been burnt so many times as a fan base to where it's like I'm not going to get my hopes too high up for that at the end of the day. If it happens, I would be pleasantly surprised, but we just got to stay focused on the task at hand right now and take it in 1 week at a time and get into that Super Bowl. We can't fall too much into the hype machine because in many cases when we do, all that ends up happening is the player who we thought we might get, all he does is just kind of use us as like the hype that we as a fan base create. They try to use that and use that as leverage to get the best deal possible. And again, I'd rather focus on the game ahead of us because we play the Cincinnati Bengals tomorrow. It's an AFC North matchup. It's our first division matchup of the season so far. The vibes are high right now within the Ravens flock. We just came off of a very dominant win in prime time against the hottest team, if well, one of the hottest teams in football, in the Buffalo Bills. Derrick Henry balled out. He's been balling out for 2 weeks in a row. Lamar was very efficient passing the ball. Like we did very well, but at the same time, we still can't allow for this to become a trap game because we're still, believe it or not, our backs are still against the wall. I know we're all feeling a lot better now, like the morale's really high within the Ravens flock right now, but at the end of the day, we are still in a must-win situation. Our backs are still against the wall. We have to get back over 500. We got to make a run to really get a strong enough footing within the AFC because even though we got off to a bad start, really no team outside of like the Chiefs has like really been winning games back to back. So the AFC and even the Chiefs, they've been winning games, but just barely. They haven't really looked too good this year. And Rasheed Rice just got hurt. So, the AFC is still pretty much up for anybody to grab at this point. So we could absolutely make a run and really get to the top of the conference like we were last year. Lamar, as we all know, he owns the Bengals. His record is 8-1 versus the Bengals. In games where Lamar and Joe Burrow play, Lamar is 5-1 he's 4-1 in those games. We know that he has a history of balling out against the Bengals, but this is still a team that's in our division, the AFC North. Even though the AFC North hasn't looked as strong as previous years, this is still a very physical division and one of the toughest in football. And we have to take this major opportunity to put the Bengals out of their misery because right now they're also just as desperate, if not more desperate than us, to regain control of their destiny and still have an outside chance of making the playoffs because they're trying to get back to a winning record or at least get back to 500. But we have a good chance to put them out of their misery in this game. The biggest concern most Bengals fans are having right now is their defense. Now, as far as rankings go, their defense is kind of ranking in like the middle of the pack in most categories, but when you watch them play, they have no real pass rush outside of Trey Hendrickson. Like on the season, they only have 5 sacks as a team. Trey Hendrickson accounts for 3 of those 5 sacks. So, of course, I'm expecting the number one goal of the offense or of Todd Monken to scheme up a plan to stop Trey Hendrickson by any means necessary. I'm assuming because Roger Rosengarten is a rookie, he's probably gonna have Trey or the Bengals defensive coordinator. He's probably gonna have Trey line up and match up against Roger more than Ronnie Stanley because quiet as kept, Ronnie Stanley has looked like his old self this whole season so far. It's really nice to see him getting back to playing at an elite level. So I'm expecting them to try to stop Trey by any means necessary. We'll see if that works out. I'm pretty sure it will because I don't even know if Trey's 100% because in that Bengals game last week, he also got banged up. So we'll see how that goes. I'm expecting this Bengals defense to try everything within their power to stop the run. I expect them to sell out to sell out to stop the run. If you watch the game with the Bills and the Ravens last week where we won, there was a point where the Bills literally had like 10 men in the box. Like, it's one thing to see like seven, eight dudes. That's already a lot. To have 10 people in the box, that just shows you that they are scared out of their mind. I'm expecting the Bengals to also be very concerned with that. Now, the Bengals still give up 145 rushing yards a game. We get about 200 rushing yards a game, at least up until this point. So I think if we want to, we're still probably going to run the ball pretty effectively. However, I still think that this could be a great opportunity for us to run a lot of play action and push the ball downfield to our receivers because, like I said, I'm expecting this Bengals team to sell out and to try to stop the run. I think Justice Hill also may have another really solid game. He's been in situations where our O line doesn't hold up. He's been a guy who Lamar has been able to rely on to throw a check down pass to, and he can make a play upfield and get the first down. And then also he's been successful on screen passes as well. So he's been a very solid weapon this year. He's been the unsung hero who's gaining a lot of traction. So I'm very happy for him for that. And also another reason I expect Justice Hill to have a better game than people expect is I think they're gonna start to pull back how many carries they give Derrick Henry. Like, remember a few weeks ago at the start of the season, John Harbaugh specifically said that they don't intend to run Derrick Henry 30 times a game. Now, in the past two games, Derrick Henry has had 49 rushes. And then also, he's had a couple of passes that he's caught too. So he's had well over 50 touches in the past 2 weeks, which was great to see, obviously, to see him get going. But at the same time, even though in most cases I don't agree with John Harbaugh, I understand the idea of not wanting to overuse Derrick Henry right now. Now, even though Derrick Henry is one of those old school backs who's used to being the workhorse who can just take on a full load of an offense and just carry by himself, but at the same time, he's still getting older. You don't want to risk kind of burning him out too early, especially when you got a guy in Justice Hill who is excelling as that number two option. I would like to see him get more carries this game. I definitely think that sweet spot for us, and I said this a few weeks ago. I think that sweet spot for us is to have Derek have about more or less 17 carries, give Justice like 8 to 9 carries, and maybe Lamar scrambles like 4 or 5 times. I think that's the most ideal scenario when it comes to us running the ball as far as distribution. Kyle Van Noy said in his podcast that he saw Derrick Henry working out, going hard in the gym the very next day after that Bills game, just to make a point of how much of a monster he is. And that's cool. But at the same time, I do expect our coaching staff to still kind of dial it back a bit, just in case, because again, he's getting older. No matter, even though he still looks great, he's proven that he's still in his prime. But at the same time, I think they're gonna dial Derek back a little bit. Now on the Bengals offensive side of the ball, they have the rookie tackle Amarius Mims. He's filling in for Trent Brown, who got injured a few weeks ago. Amarius Mims is playing pretty well so far, but I'm expecting our pass rush to still be too much for him and Orlando Brown Jr. to be able to handle. 'Cause I just don't think now both of them are playing well up until this point in the season, but I don't think they're gonna be able to handle our pass rush right now. I'm still expecting Kyle Van Noy, Odafe Owe, and David Ojabo to really make some noise in this game. They don't have the most impressive running attack. I mean, they can run the ball at times, but I'm expecting Travis Jones, Michael Pierce, Roderick Washington, and Namdi Matabike. I'm expecting them to shut that all the way down. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, the big question mark is going to be in the secondary. Marlon Humphrey, he's playing better than he's given credit for. He's been given credit for this season. He's A stat came out just like a few days ago saying that he's one of like four remaining quarterback cornerbacks who haven't given up a 15 plus yard reception all season. So he's playing better than he's getting credit for. So he's doing fairly well. Nate Wiggins, even though he's a rookie, he still looked pretty good so far. Brandon Stevens, he's given up a few plays, but it's more so just Brandon Stevens just not still not fully having those instincts to get his head around because he's keeping up step for step with every receiver. Like even these catches some of these guys are making, like Keon Coleman, it's just an example of just a great catch on his end. It's not because Brandon Stevens is necessarily getting cooked. So our secondary, the main concern I have, of course, because we know the Bengals are going to want to pass the ball. My main concern is, are they going to try to push the ball in any wherever? Are they going to try to push the ball in any part of the field that's going to have Roquan Smith or Marcus Williams? That's the main thing that's concerning me going into this game because with how they both have looked the first 4 weeks, it would make me a bit nervous because if they don't get off to a good start in this game, I could see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Gesicki and T Higgins. I could see them really having a field day in that part of the field. But if they can get off to a good start, we could really get rolling and really have this game wrapped up as quick as possible. So I'm still expecting us to pull out a win here. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you think we're gonna do in this game? What score predictions do you have, and what do you think the keys are gonna be in this game?